Okay, hey everyone, welcome back. So happy Monday to you all, I guess. If it's Bitcoin didn't do too well today, miners didn't do that great either. But that's not the real reason we're here. Well, it is partially the reason we're here, but I want to talk to you guys more about basically the title of the video here tonight, which is Losing All Hope with Bitcoin miners. The reason I want to talk about that, we'll get into it here really quick, but then we'll also have to cover news from Bitfarms, Hive, and Riot as well. But the reason is I posted an a post, I guess you could say, earlier today about I'm seeing a lot more people basically capitulate. And I think I understand why, right? We're seeing the miners not doing that great, except for a couple that have done really well because of HPCI potential there. The rest of the miners haven't really done great, right? They've been held down, they've been beaten down, they've been shorted to the max, I think, degree. And we're being manipulated heavily by the big guys, unfortunately. So it is tough. It is very tough to be in this space in anyways, right? But when you have everything else going against you, it just seems like there's no hope for the miners to do any better than what they've already done, which I don't agree with. And, I don't know what to tell the people that are on the fence about being the miners. I think if you've been in the miners for a while now, at least, let's just say you've been in there for, 3 months, 6 months. If you've been in there even longer, I think you can maybe stomach it. But I think the people that have been in here just shortly where they bought, maybe where the prices were higher on the miners, you had Cleanspark being up higher at around $24. You've had others as well being higher from where they are right now. And they still haven't reached their new 52-week highs recently. That can be painful, right? You got into them at that point. You were seeing the miners going up like crazy. We had the halving event. Things took a downturn for us. And they're not doing great right now, right? You'd expect with miners that they would be at least up a lot more than where they are right now because of Bitcoin being at close to 100,000. We had a pullback today. So there's some more fear in that. But I just don't know what else I can possibly do or anybody else in this space could do to bring back a little hope with the miners. We look at all the charts all the time as far as where were the miners last cycle? When did they actually start running? And we're seeing that this is kind of like the time that they should be running, but they're still not really running. So it's what should we do? Is it a different cycle? Is it, manipulation to the nth degree, which I think it is right now? And what should we do going forward? I still have a high conviction rate and belief that the miners will actually do very well in the next, be it 3 to 6 months, maybe 9 months, 12 months, whatever it's going to be. But I think we're not done with Bitcoin going up in value. We're not done with the miners still running even more. The miners that have been beaten down the most, I think, may have the most run up for us in the next potentially several months, right? But it is going to be difficult. It's not going to be an easy ride for us. It's not going to be a smooth sail. And, we got things that are against us right now. Will that turn? Yeah, I think it will turn. But eventually we will get to a greener, brighter days, I think. And then you just got to be patient with them, I think. Right. So like I said, I saw not only in the comments that I've seen in YouTube channel, on Patreon as well, in Discord and places like that, people, not a lot, I would say it's still a very small minority that have turned rather negative on the miners themselves. So the only thing I can say is be patient. Like I said before, I'm going to try and provide some maybe better graphs, better data on the miners as far as what they did last cycle as well. I'm going to try and do that this week, try to pull that data in and show you guys what actually happened, when it happened, how it happened, going forward as well. But I thought I was doing a pretty good job at that anyways. In the past couple of weeks, I've been showing a lot of charts and on Bitcoin and miners and everything else. And even in the Q&A side of things, I've done that as well. But yeah, it's tough, right? I know it's tough myself. You're seeing your portfolio go up nicely, 50,000, 100,000, whatever it might be in a day. And then it goes down 150, 200,000 the next day. It's like, what is all of this for? Right. All of this for is to have a nice return on the investment. And a lot of people are thinking that the miners are not investable right now, which I still disagree with that. I think we are getting into that sweet spot with Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners, and in time they will do better. When will they do better? I just don't know. I just still have that conviction and that belief that they will do better, especially as Bitcoin goes up in value. Now, if Bitcoin doesn't go up in value, then we are all in trouble at that point. But I don't think we're there yet. If I see Bitcoin being at 100,000 or 150,000 and the miners are still where they are right now, or Bitcoin's at like 200,000, the miners haven't at least done a 3x, then yeah, we might be in trouble. But I don't see that happening, at least not this cycle. And this cycle might be different. It might be different in the fact that it is maybe an extended cycle. Nobody knows that until we actually go through it. We can speculate on it because of all the adoption that we've had here recently, right? Bitcoin being put on as a strategic reserve for our country. And in other countries, I saw a bill today that was being introduced, I believe, in Russia, that they want to do that as well. Other countries also. So we have a lot more adoption happening than we've ever had before, which is one of the main reasons that I'm still extremely bullish on Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners in general, because everything, all the stars are basically aligning, right? Now, like I said, I don't know when it's actually going to change for us, but I do believe it's going to happen in the next several months, okay? So bear with it. Stay with it if you can. I know it's not easy. A lot of people have done a really good job trading these things as well right now, because a lot of these guys are like range bound, and you can get the tops and bottoms. And I mean, a lot of people have done really well with it. Other people have done the options and the calls and puts and everything else. You can do really good on it if you obviously have the time, the expertise, and the knowledge how to do all that. The other option is to dollar cost average in as best you can. Hold on for a little bit longer and reap the rewards. And then next, I would imagine probably 6 months or so. Okay. That is it. So I just wanted to point that out. And I do feel for the people that got into Bitcoin miners when they were higher priced. I've been there. I've been through that. As you guys know, if you guys have been following me for a long time, I got into the miners back in 2022 in January. Started dollar cost averaging into them. I was buying them at much higher prices than even some of them are right now. I was getting into Cleanspark at $9. I was getting into Bitfarms at like $5. Bitfarms is still at $2.30, but the only thing that really saved me was dollar cost averaging down onto them, especially when the prices were going down. I could buy a heck of a lot more shares at that point, which means my average price went way lower, and I'm still in the profits in both of these guys here. But when you get into them when they're like at $24 and $4 and whatever it might be, and they're still not at that point, or at least breaking even, yeah, it's tough. I can see how people can capitulate at that point. Especially if they've been holding on to them for several months and you're not seeing that action that everybody's talking about. Miners are going to do great. They're going to do wonderfully. They're going to outperform Bitcoin. They're going to outperform MicroStrategy, all that stuff. In time, I think they will. And I still have a high belief in that, okay? Before we get into your guys' Q&A, I see you guys are already posting questions. Please hold off on those. We will get to those towards the end. We will take a look at what's going on with Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin and everything else, but we have to go through some legalese things as always. So bear with me there. But as you guys know, not financial advice, for only. Do your own research as always. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. And let's take a look at what happened with Bitcoin today. And there was definitely not a good feeling with Bitcoin today. But here's what we got on the charts right now. We can see that Bitcoin was, let's see here. Is that Bitcoin? Yeah, we got Bitcoin. I'm on the weekly. I'm going to be on the daily chart. There we go. And I got some, what do I have here? Get rid of that. Okay. So Bitcoin had a decent pullback today. We closed today at 97,324. We hit a low of 94,220. It's still not as low as we hit, just when was this? This was back in Thursday the 5th of last week, right? We hit a low of 92,055. And we had 3 good days of going in the green, going up. And then we had a nice pullback today. And we're kind of range bound. I mean, we're still battling with the 100,000 mark. And I've said this before that we may battle it a couple times before we actually break through it. We've seen that numerous times before in Bitcoin's history, where we have a resistance line. That resistance is going to get tested multiple times before it breaks through it and then finally goes further. Right now, the RSI on the daily is still looking pretty good from what I can see. It's at 57 right now. The last time we were back here, we were at Bitcoin being at right around 69,000. So that is still a really good increase in price that we've had here on it. If we look at the 4-hour chart, let's see how that looks. 4-hour chart on the RSI, I'm seeing 38. The last time we were back here was 38. Bitcoin price is still a little bit higher from where we were. So that's still looking relatively good. 1-hour chart here, we can see the RSI. Look at the bottoms here on this. Was back here. I mean, the 1-hour chart is going to be over here. I mean, price at that point, I mean, we're pretty close to that, maybe a little bit higher at it right now on it. So still looking okay there. On the weekly, if we look at that also relatively quickly here, we can see that we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks in the green, 1 week in the red, 1 week in the green, and then we're starting off this week in the red right now. But yeah, and the RSI is coming back down here a little bit. That's a good sign. A little bit of a pullback, a little healthy, decrease in activity and, well, maybe not activity, but decrease in the share price, Bitcoin doesn't have a share price. It's Bitcoin price. It tends to be a good thing for the long run of the bull run. So I'm not too worried about that yet. The miners, on the other hand, had a rough day today with Bitcoin being down roughly, what was it down today? A couple percentage points. It was down, 3.81%. A lot of the miners did worse than Bitcoin by at least like 2x, some did even like 3x worse. Bitfarms was down basically 2x, 6.5%. Bitdeer held up pretty well today. It was actually in the green a lot of time during the day. It was only down 1.81%. Cypher was down 10. Cleanspark down 9. CORZ was down 5, almost 5, well, 5.5, I guess you could say. Hive was down 7. Hive was down 10%. IREN down 5. Mara was down 9. Riot was down 13. Wolf was down 10. And on these days, it definitely hurts, right? But you have to zoom out a lot of time on these things. Where did they come from? I mean, some of these guys have been kind of range bound here, as Bitfarms has been. Bitdeer, I mean, look at Bitdeer. Bitdeer has been on like a rocket ship here recently, ever since they put out basically the release of getting the convertible notes there. That helped the stock, I believe. Cypher, same thing here, right? It's been kind of range bound here recently, but had a nice run up here as well. Cleanspark has been range bound as well. Right around here, you saw it range bound here, range bound a little bit over here as well, and then it's range bound again here. So we're definitely getting kind of I'd still say it's manipulation by the big guys. But then you got CORZ here, having a nice steady run up here. CORZ has been kind of like the only one that's been steadily going up, even after the halving event, and that is mainly because they have the deal with CoreWeave there. That's going to be generating a ton of revenue for them next year. So I think people are just buying that in anticipation of that. You got Hive also having a nice run up here and recent pullback. Also, Hut 8 has had a stellar run up here. Also, we've had them with getting involved with Anthony Pompliano, doing also convertible notes and things like that. That's helping the stock out there. Co2 investing in them. Those are positive things. And then you got IREN here, doing also not too bad, right? IREN has been going up higher as well. They've put out great press releases as far as their continued growth and everything else like that. That's helped them out. Marathon has been another one that's been doing better lately, but it's still not like we've seen with some of the other ones where they've been going up. You can see that they've been kind of range bound here from basically August through November. You can see that they've had a nice little run up here, but we've had a little bit of pullback. Riot, same thing, range bound more or less in this span. Came down, range bound a little bit there, and then it's been going back up a little bit. And then Wolf here was one of those other ones that had a nice run up here as well. With them moving more forward with their HPCI potential on that one, and then having two sizable or very known investors getting into them. So those are the things that have been kind of pushing some of the stocks up where some of the other ones have not been. So I think that will change, especially when Bitcoin price goes up in value and the miners become even more profitable and things like that. I have also run all the numbers for the break even, which are estimates. I'm guessing they're going to be probably within like 10% plus or minus of that. We won't get into that in this video, but we will get into that probably later on this week. I'm double checking my work on that, and it's just an estimate where I see them being based on their quarterly results. Okay, so that'll be coming out also. We'll look at that, see how things stack up for those guys at that point. All right, that's it on miners and Bitcoin here really quick. Let's get into the stories that we do have here, and we'll get into your guys' Q&A at that side. So prepare your questions for when that happens. Should be relatively quickly here. And you can see here that Bitcoin is up only 1.39% so far in December with the pullback that we've seen today. All right, next here, Bitfarms. They announced a restatement of previously issued financial statements. So they made a, what do they call that? A classification error in how they report things. Okay, so there's a bunch of periods between like 2022, 23, and I believe a bunch of the quarterly results as well. So they're saying should be restated to correct a material error in classification of proceeds derived from the sale of digital assets. Okay, so shareholders and users of Bitfarms financial statements should note that restatements are not a result of any change to its operations, business, or financial operating performance. For the periods being restated, for any and all of the restatement periods, there is no impact on the company's overall cash position or net cash flow. So it was just put in basically in the wrong place or wrong line item. Bitfarms previously categorized proceeds derived from the sale of digital assets as cash flow from operating activities. In conjunction with the SEC review, it was determined that the proceeds from the sale of digital assets should be classified as cash flow from investing in activities. So I'm guessing that was based on any Bitcoin that they held and they didn't sell on a daily basis, I guess. That is my understanding of this. Due to the materiality of the error in classification, the company is restating the financial statements for the restatement periods. In addition to the correction of the consolidated statements of cash flows, the company is also restating its financials to adjust for an error in accounting for the redemption of warrants in 2023. Okay, so there's basically one error here and then reclassification on the other one. And you can see all of the restatements here. Nothing real material in effect for us as shareholders in the company, if any of you guys own it or anything like that. It's just they viewed it as classification in one way and the SEC saw it as another way. But here, the company's management has previously concluded that the company had a material weakness in its internal control over financial reporting during the restatement period. Where was the auditing firm during this? Right, so the auditing firm didn't catch it. It was based on the SEC. Maybe it's the SEC's interpretation. We also know that the SEC has not been historically kind to Bitcoin and everything else. Is that part of it here? Maybe, I'm not sure. Management is in the process of implementing remediation measures to address the material weakness in respect of the errors described above. Okay, not a big deal there. If it was something much more drastic, then yeah, that might have been bad. But based on this, I don't see this as a big deal, and you guys can let me know if you guys see the same thing here on that one. Hive, we'll get into in a second here. We'll run over their report for production update for November, and then right now we have just Riot, and we have a continuation on these convertible notes here. So Riot Platforms announces proposed private offering of 500 million of convertible notes. We are seeing a lot of these happening here recently, which is, I believe, a good thing, right? At least they're not going into debt, and they're not currently at least diluting through the ATMs and things like that. They're going through these senior notes, which are going to be, where does it say? They're going to be due in like 2030. So Riot today announced that it intends to offer, subject to market conditions and other factors, 500 million aggregate principal amount of its convertible senior notes due 2030. That is definitely like 5 years away. Riot also expects to grant the initial purchasers of the notes as options to purchase within a 3-day period beginning on and including the date of which the notes are first issued, up to an additional 75 million aggregate principal amount of the notes. So they'll get about 500 million after all the fees and everything else, or 575 million after all the fees. It might get close to like maybe 500 million or something like that on it. All right, going down here, Riot intends to use the net proceeds from its offering to acquire additional Bitcoin. Okay, so they're going to be following basically MicroStrategy Marathon's playbook right now. They're going to be buying more Bitcoin. They have over 10,000 Bitcoin as it is right now. They could definitely buy a bunch for it, and for general corporate purposes as well. So it's interesting to see that we're seeing obviously more miners buying Bitcoin now than we have in the past. Last cycle, we only saw Marathon bought 4,000 Bitcoin at that point. Bitfarms also bought, I believe, some Bitcoin at that point. Also, I think like 3,000 Bitcoin. I can't remember exactly, or 1,000 Bitcoin. I can't remember. It was a smaller amount than what Mara bought, but they bought Bitcoin at that point as well. But this time around, we're seeing a lot more, right? Marathon's been on a buying spree here recently. MicroStrategy also bought today. They bought another, 21,000 Bitcoin, I think I read as well. I mean, so how much more Bitcoin can like these guys buy up, and where are they getting it all? So that's why I'm thinking there might be short. It's going to be not like a short squeeze, but it's going to be definitely a shortage in the amount of Bitcoin that's available to be sold here. It's got to be. I mean, who is selling at these levels? Yes, people that bought it at prices that are much lower than where they are right now. Maybe they are selling, but I would still think that'd be a small percentage of that. But nonetheless, I digress here. And that's basically it. We'll find out more details on it. We don't know what the percentage rate is on this right now, and we'll find out when that actually does happen here. So this is another one. Who else will we see doing this type of thing? I think Cleanspark probably would be the next target of this potentially as well. But we'll see what they do. Who else could we see? I don't know who else. I don't know. I'm thinking right now if Cypher did this in the past. I can't remember if they did. They might be one that also does it. But we've seen with others as well. So it's kind of interesting the way that this is working out right now. All right. Lastly here, let's take a look at Hive here really quick. Hive Digital announces their November production updates. And it's pretty short and sweet here. So Bitcoin mined was 103. HODL was now 2,713. Average mining capacity of 5.3 exahash, and they peaked at 5.7 exahash during the month as well. And that's basically it. They talk about getting the newer miners again, getting getting to 15 exahash by summer of 2025, which is great. So that's basically it here for them. So if we look at my sheet over here, we got Hive Digital with 118 million shares right now, market cap 479 million as it is. Their performance hasn't been great. They're up 39% from 12 weeks ago, 14% from 8 weeks ago, down 1.8% from 4 weeks ago. Last week they were up 6.6%. All right, current hash rate 5.6. I have them. They're operating at average 5.3. I think they reported future hash rate about 10.7, 10.8. I guess you could say that. So they still have quite a bit of growth here with them. Small, but it's good growth for them for their size. Bitcoin HODL 2,713. That's valued at 264 million. Right, that's 55% of their market cap. That to me is just insane. The only thing I can think of that's keeping the stock, this one at least, down, is either that because they're domiciled in Canada, right? So they're not getting the benefit of being in the United States, which we were seeing a lot with that. Miners that are in the United States definitely benefit from that. And the only thing I can think of is maybe the growth there. But I mean, 55% of their HODL in their market cap, that's the highest one here, I think. Marathon's at like 40-some% here, if I look at it here, I believe. Going back up top. Yeah, Marathon's at 44. So Hive is definitely not being valued on their operations prowess when it comes to Bitcoin mining, because they are actually really, really good at Bitcoin mining. But yeah, they're being more so valued on their HODL than they are on their Bitcoin operations, which is unfortunate. So Bitcoin production here has come down here to 103. We also had a shorter month like we did with all the other miners, right? We were days short. So they could have probably come close to where they mined before, but they're also not keeping up with the network hash rate. That's a result of that, and you're seeing a decrease in the Bitcoin mine there. Revenue has increased, though, which is based on Bitcoin price going up, 8.92 million. Bitcoin HODL has been continuing to increase here steadily, which is nice to see. Hash rate growth, we got no hash rate growth, basically. BTC per access efficiency, really good, 18.23 on that one. Other metrics, we won't get into that. We'll take a look at my numbers here in a second here. And then institutions and analysts. Institutions did increase here, 244. Shares did increase a little, actually decrease a little bit to 37.5 million. They are now 29.82% owned by institutions. We still have 4 strong buy ratings, 2 buy ratings, and price targets actually went up for them. The high went up to 10, the average went up to 783, and the low went up to $6 for them. And then as far as what we had the mining here in November, I had them operating for about 28.16 days on average. That got us to the 8.916 million based on the BTC that they mined and the average price of Bitcoin for the month that coincides with that. Going up here, we can see here, using the last 3 quarters in the current quarter that we're in, I'm in between 704 and 1055. They're at 404. I do think that they are undervalued still, quite tremendously, actually. And then if you look at their future revenue here, based on the revenue of November times 12 months, I'm in between 676 and 1014. That's kind of in line with what the analysts have right now. I'm a little bit higher than that, slightly. But I'm in agreement. I think they should be valued much higher than where they are. The only big thing for them is just grow more. Try to grow as much as you can. Maybe put a little bit more into the HODL position if you can, and that's it. Other than that, I can't complain about their operations. Their operations have always been fantastic. Getting the newer miners also and all that stuff, they're doing all the right things. Okay? So that's it on Hive. Let's get into your guys' Q&A, and as always, you guys know the drill. Patreon members get access to my spreadsheets and everything else, all the data that I have on the miners. That's there's a link for that in the description, as always. And let's get into your Q&A. So, okay. And sorry to kind of bum you guys out a little bit today, Bitcoin being down and then talking about losing, hope in Bitcoin miners. But I had to talk about it, I had to kind of give you guys my thoughts on it as well. What at least my thoughts were on this. All right, let me get over here to Q&A. All right. See, so as always, for questions, if you could preface them with a Q and then the question, that'd be great. That way I know what a question is and which one is a comment. And then also be patient with me. I'm going to scroll up a little bit. I know you guys have been kind of busy here in the chat, so I'll scroll up like halfway and I'll start seeing if I have any questions and I'll go from there. And I will work my way down until I get through all the questions. All right. Let's see. Okay, I'll start right here. All right. I said, remember when Mac and Zad sold out of Cleanspark at 25 or so for like 9 million worth? And from then on, we have been in a downward trend also when they disclosed the big ATM. Yeah, whenever we get an ATM that happens, I don't blame them for selling. They had a I can't remember what it's called now. It's a pre-initiated sale that was back from like I think it was done 6 or 9 months before then, right? So they do that so they don't get in trouble for being called out as selling on insider information or things like that, right? So a lot of companies do that. They did that. That's fine. They didn't think the stock was going to get to like over $20. It did, and those sales got initiated basically. So, okay, fine. The ATM is always going to be a drag on the stock. We've seen that with other companies as well. We saw it with, what did we see that with? We saw that with Cleanspark. We saw it last year with Cleanspark also. In 2023, when they were pulling quite heavily on the ATM actually, and then they came out, they were fully funded to, I think it was 21 exahash or whatever it was, and stock took off like a rocket at that point. And that was because the concern of further dilution was kind of alleviated at that point. We saw it also with IREN, I believe. We saw it with others as well. I think it was Marathon in there as well. So it does have a negative impact on the stock price going forward. Let's see. Trying to find a question. Okay. All right. Bear with me. Looking for questions. You guys have a lot of comments here. Okay. Well, this wasn't prefaced as a question, but I found it here. Is Bhutan government selling bitcoins? That I don't know. Let's see. So would you consider this bad news on Riot and a little confused? No, I don't think it's bad news. I think it's good. I believe the convertible notes are going to be better for the miners in the long run than ATMs potentially. From what I've heard from others that have more experience in this than I do, and I'm no expert when it comes to that stuff. Okay, let's see here. Can you show your valuation on IREN and in Cleanspark? Do you wish you had more than the other? I wish I would have been buying into IREN sooner than I did. I didn't start buying into IREN in like last year around this time, November, December of last year. And I was slowly buying into them, and then I went quite heavily into them. But let me pull that up for you really quick here. So IREN right now, let's see here. Here's my valuation on them. I think they should be somewhere between 2048 and 3072 based on the revenue in November times 12 months, right? And this is just for self-mining. They also generate about $1 million, I think, in revenue per month on the HPC business that they have there. That's not being included in there, so that would kind of bump it up a little bit. And then Cleanspark, I have them at, where is it at? There it is. I have it between 22 and 33, right? They're at $13 right now. Yeah, I think that they're undervalued, just like a lot of miners are right now. But we shall see. And why did my data get all goofy here? What happened there? I'll have to look into that. Oh, I think it's because I unhid these over here. I think that made it goofy. All right. But yeah, you got them undervalued. I mean, you can look at it in another way as well. Let me see here. Where's it at? Enterprise metrics, right? If you look at this, I mean, this kind of shows you really well also where the miners are being valued right now and for the future hash rate. And you can see that some of these things are a little off. I mean, if you look at them. But it is what it is right now. And I think in time, that will possibly flip. I still have a belief that they will flip eventually. It's just in time. Because you got some of the bigger guys here, Marathon, Riot, Cleanspark, and you can even include that possibly in IREN being valued much lower than some of the other guys that have much lower hash rate and much lower growth going forward, but they're getting valued on the HPCI potential. Okay. It is what it is right now, but I think eventually that will flip as Bitcoin goes up in value. All right, let's go back here. All right, let's see. So Bitcoin's negligible drops result in 10% drop in miners. Do you think this tomorrow will get out of a short interest and reach 3x, 5x this cycle? And when would that happen? Yeah, I still think that will happen. That they will get at least like a 3x to a 5x, right? When will the shorts basically stop shorting? That I don't know. I think Bitcoin many Bitcoin to be like 125,000 or 150,000. I just don't know. But I think in time it doesn't make any sense to short these guys when they're going to be so profitable. It's going to be profitable for a short period of time. Yes, like the next 9 to 12 months potentially. If we have a repeat cycle like we have in the past where Bitcoin then falls, 70%. If it doesn't happen, then, I mean, they could be profitable for a much longer period of time as well. So that's something I'm sure that they're asking themselves as well. All right. What is your current allocation to IREN and Cleanspark? Do you wish you had more? I talked about that one already. current allocation, I have like 8,000 shares of Cleanspark, 8,000 plus, almost 9,000 shares. And then I got, I have to look at the numbers for IREN. I know it's less than, Cleanspark's been number one position as far as value-wise, followed by IREN, then Bitfarms right now. But yeah, do I wish you had more than the other? No, I've done really well with Cleanspark, so I'm not complaining about that one. I got into it much earlier also. I've been buying it at much lower prices than I did with IREN, but I think they will all do very well going forward. All right. And do you believe the positive earnings is needed for BTC miners to pop? This happened to Cleanspark in Q1 2024. Before having, and it popped, BTC miners need to grow and profit like they did pre-having. Possibly. But we saw the miners actually going up last cycle, right around this time, even before they had positive earnings. I think, right, the markets are usually forward-looking. And if you're looking at Bitcoin's going to 125, 150,000, whatever it might be, you should be getting into the miners right now while they're still down, not when they're, reporting huge profits. All right. He said, BTC seems to be following price percentage movement like 2020. We went sideways for a month until December 15th. Can we open the charts and confirm? Maybe Santa Claus rally incoming. Yeah, but we can take a look at the charts here. Let's take a look at it. Let me pull that one up. Bitcoin here. Go to the screen. And then let's go back to, so that was, you're saying, when did you say that? That was 2020 or 2020? 2020 before, okay. Yeah, before the rally we had in 2021. So let's see, April 23, 22, 21. All right. Let's see, let's do a 1 year chart on it. Should have done that. All right, there's 21 April. We had that peak right in April. And then here, this is the halving event that we had in 2020. This was in May. Got a nice red bar there to point it out to me. And you can see here that for a while, yeah, we did go from like 6,000 to, where did we go here? We went as high as 12,000. We came back down to like 10,000 for a while here. And this was October. October, we started to kind of rally up a little bit here. November, we had a pretty good month here. And then in December, which was right around like the 17th, is when we took off on that one. And if we overlay some miners to it, let's see how that looks. So if we do that, we put in there, Cleanspark wasn't really a miner at that point. They weren't even a miner. They were a microgrid supplier or manufacturer at that point. Let me see, Mara. That's definitely going to make things really tough to see here. Let's see, November. Yeah, November, December here, right? They were going down in December, actually, Mara was. And then right around the 14th, 15th, I guess you could say, it started to take off. And we went on a nice run there. Let's add in there also Riot really quick. Riot was at that point as well. Same as scale, put that one in. Okay, same thing, right? Riot was coming down and then they started going up a little bit slower, but they were going up as well. So right around this time is when things should change for us if we have the same kind of thing happening. Okay. Delete that. Back to Q&A. Okay, there's that one. Will Riot cross $60 at BTC and 180 at BTC with 180,000? $60. It's, what is it now? $13. Riot, $11. That'd be basically a 5x on it. Bitcoin would be only 80% up from where it's at right now, roughly. It might be doable. A 3x, I would say maybe a 3x. I think we would need Bitcoin to be closer to like 200,000, 225,000, maybe somewhere around there for it to do that. Let's see. Bitfarms updating prior financial statements with SEC and indication of its intent to move headquarters to USA. Maybe. I didn't even think about that. That might be. I know that they are open to it, and so they might be looking into that. All right. Let's see. Hi, Seb. I'm trying to learn how Stronghold USA will benefit Bitfarms. Are they purchasing them to get exposure to USA market share? Thanks for any input you may provide. There's a couple of benefits that they're looking at by trying to get Stronghold. One is the power supply there, the build out that they can do also there, and then the possibility, I think they said possibility there for doing HPCI possibility. It's an interesting interconnect that they have there. I'm not the best as far as electrical engineering and things like that, but the way I understand it is they could get power from the connects there from the grid to power the HPC AI servers, and then if there's an outage, they could use the actual power plants that they have there available to power those in the event of that. That way, you don't need to put in redundancies such as well, you might need batteries still, but you may not need to get those diesel generators to have the backup generation there. I think that's one of the benefits there as well. There might be others as well. All right. Oh boy. Talked about that one. Okay. What does convertible notes means is basically, the way I understand it is the notes can be converted into either cash or shares. So that's what they mean by convertible notes, either one on that point. They can buy the notes back, or they can give them shares for the notes. Let's see. Okay. What if you time those stock sales on news releases? Which sales? Stock sales. If you're a day trader, that might work, I guess. I don't know. Okay. Question: are most mines profitable at 95,000? Yes. Based on the data that I have for them, yeah. Okay. Hello, so does anybody know if Microsoft's voting results will be released tomorrow? I mean, on the same day. That I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't know on that one. I've seen, what was it? Bitfarms had a shareholder meeting, and when did they release the notes, or they release the results of it? I think they released them the same day, I thought. I could be wrong on that. Let's see your question. I've heard the convertible notes path may help get the shorts to back off. True are your thoughts? I've heard the same thing. And the reason they do that is because then they want the stock to go up so they can get those, the price, what do they call it? Price targets? Not the price targets. It's the price at which they would be exercised, I think, at that point, possibly. So, yeah, I've heard that as well, and I think that is true. Okay. Hi, Seb, from your sheets, can you explain the reason behind valuing 50% income and 75% income? Yeah. So it's basically 50% profit and 75% profit. So as the miners get more profitable, as Bitcoin goes up in value, their profit margin gets much better, so more like 75%. That's kind of where I'm drawing that in. 50% is just kind of like the average, more or less, where they could be at. There's times when they are lower at that point. Also, when we're in a bear market and you have miners making, squabbly little, maybe 10, 15% profit margins on it. But then you also have the times when they are really, really doing well, and it could be actually north of 75%. But it's kind of the way I just look at it that way. Okay. Question: what percentage of your portfolio do you usually keep in cash to take advantage of pullbacks? Is that different from your rainy day emergency fund? Yeah, I usually try to keep those separate. Rainy day emergency fund I've tapped into it this year just to buy, and then I've replenished it because I just saw an opportunity there. So I do try to keep that different. And it's typically just a couple $1,000s. That's kind of what I do. If I use it up buying shares, then it might take me a little while to replenish that again so I can buy possibly more shares. But that's kind of been the strategy for me. All right. Can you tell me if Hive still produces Ethereum Classic, or are they only involved in Bitcoin mining? I think they're only in Bitcoin mining. They did mine some other coins. I mean, they might be still doing it, actually. I would have to look into it some more, but they haven't reported anything other than just Bitcoin mining and working on HPC AI business there. All right. Let's see. Sebastian, the Bhutan government sold 406 Bitcoin worth 40 million earlier today, while bulls attempt to break out above 100,000 in new all-time highs. Yeah, I mean, that's measly, right? 406 Bitcoin is basically what's produced a day. You got 450 Bitcoin a day, and then you got MicroStrategy buying 21,000, Mara buying however many thousands they've been buying here recently. Where is all that coming from? There's going to be a eventuality where there's just a short supply. And based on short supply, you should have Bitcoin going up. All right, let's see. When will Bitfarms 10x? I'd be happy with 10x, but I'll be honest with you, I'll be happy if it goes 5x. But yeah, if it's 10x, we're going to need Bitcoin to be like 250, 300,000 at that point. Let's see. If we only expect 3 to 5x from here, the MicroStrategy would have been the better play this entire cycle. MicroStrategy gave better returns for less risk. If you're looking from here, yes, if you got into it earlier, but some of you might have also gotten into the miners earlier. I got into the miners earlier. I'm still doing really well. If I get in the 3 to 5x, I'm going to be sitting really well. So it just depends on timing when you get into them. So if you got into the miners now, hopefully you got into MicroStrategy earlier, you could have used whatever the process you had, proceeds from MicroStrategy, to then get into some of the depressed and depreciated miners right now, which might have a nice run up here recently. I mean, we saw MicroStrategy being down also today. It's, if you look at MicroStrategy here on it, it's definitely come down from where its highs were, right? Let me see, MicroStrategy, why am I seeing that here? That is looking, oh, I'm going back to 2022. I mean, it was at 543. It's back down to 365. So it's also had a pullback here. It got a little overheated, I think. And it's a healthy pullback for it. But yeah, depending when you got into some of these things, I thought I had a chart here someplace. Market stock performance here. Yeah, so depending when you got into them, you could have done really well with the miners as well. If you look at it here, if you got into like IREN here back in the beginning of 2023, you're up almost 1,100%. TerraWolf 926, Cypher 886, Marathon 600%, Cleanspark 574%, Hut 8 565%. So depending when you got into them, yeah. If you got into MicroStrategy this past year, you would have done great with it too. So there's a couple ways you could do it. I don't think there's any wrong way of doing it. I think it just depends on individuals' time commitment, right? How much time do you have to be in this and everything else? Do you day trade? Do you just buy and become an investor basically for a longer period of time? There's a couple ways of doing it. I don't think there's any wrong way of doing it. As long as you're making money, the way you do it shouldn't really matter. All right, let's go back here. Okay. Let's see. L7 required to remove mandatory Bitcoin acceptance to get 1.3 billion IMF loan. Do they really need an IMF loan? I thought they were just gonna go do away with the IMF. I could be wrong. Let's see here. Seb, do you think it's time to rotate from Bitdeer to another miners? Up on my investment, but not sure what is the exit process for Bitdeer here. If you're up nicely on it, maybe. I don't know how much more it can run, to be honest with you. It's done a fantastic job. I think it's still, let me take a look at it. I think it's, right now it's showing up kind of, I think, fairly valued in my numbers based on, let me see your Bitdeer on it. Going up here for it. Yeah, to me, it's looking like it's, let's go back here. So here's the screen. So right now, it's at 2063 for them. I'm in between 1237 and 1855. I think it's pretty well valued. I mean, it could be getting like a P of 15 or something like that. At that point, it could go to maybe like a $27 high on it. But right now, we know that their hash rate for their self-mining, they have a bunch of different businesses and everything else. So it's kind of tough with this one. Because they have the self-mining, they have the, what do they call it? I can never remember what they call it. But they have hosting, something else. What is it called? I'm going to go crazy if I don't remember it. It's down here. Revenues. So they got self-mining cloud hash rate. They also have general hosting, membership hosting in the past as well. So they got other things as well. Now they also have where they're manufacturing the ASICs. Eventually they will get revenue from that. But a lot of the growth is still going to be not until possibly middle of 2025, towards the end of 2025, and into 2026, based on their timeline of getting sites up and running and everything else. So I don't know. I think they're still going to do very well going forward. As far as how much higher can they go and what multiples can they get, that's a tough question. Because like I said, a lot of the growth is going to be second half of next year and beyond. All right, but that's your call. All right, let's go back here. All right. Hi, Seb. More institutions are adding more shares on Bitfarms based on market beat report. Okay. Let's see here. Any risk to miners because of new trading war against China 2025 as Bitmain, Canon, and Chinese companies? Thanks for your sharing. Hard work, Seb. I will have hope, and I bought more than it. Nice. Okay. Is there any risk? The only risk that you could possibly have with the trade wars is going to be tariffs that I can think of right now. That, or if there's going to be an embargo on some chips or something like that. Who knows if that's going to happen? I doubt that will. But even with the tariffs, you can have, I think Bitmain makes some of their machines in Malaysia as well. That's out of China, right? That's Malaysia, or you can do it in other places also. So you can kind of get around it a little bit. So I don't see that's going to be a big thing. And with also Trump, he's met with the Bitcoin miners. I don't think he's going to want to do wrong by them, right? He wants all the Bitcoin mined here in the United States. So I think he's going to, I wouldn't say protect them, but I think he's going to try to do his best not to, hurt them too much. All right. Any news regarding the Bitmain miners that have been held up by the American agencies? Nothing yet. Those are the T21s. We know about those, but I haven't heard anything on that. All right. Question, what is DMG's enterprise value per exahash? What does it look like compared to the other miners? I don't have that one for the smaller miners, but it's small. I mean, what are they valued at right now? 15 million or something like that? I know they're small. Okay. Let's see your question regarding future hash rate. Does Cleanspark has bought miners for 50 plus exahash and IREN only to 30 exahash? Yes. Cleanspark has made the purchase commitments for the 50 exahash. Currently, I have been at 56. I need to take out some of the older machines that they have there. I believe that those are going to be getting swapped out. So I need to take that out to get them down to 50 exahash. And then IREN only has so far bought to like 31 exahash. They have options to get to 50 exahash. Those options have not been exercised yet, as best to my knowledge. I haven't seen anything from them being reported on it. So until that time when they do report it, I get them at 31 exahash or 30 exahash right now. So that's the reason for that. Let's see. Question 7, do you know if shorts are still decreasing in miners? Thanks. I'm going to be running that. I'm going to check for that data this week as well. So we'll go over that. If I have the data for it, that should have been, that's going to be data based on 11/31 information. So last month's, end of last month information. That should be coming out this week. Okay. Let's see. Question regarding convertible bonds. Doesn't this fuel the gamma trade, long bonds, short the underlying or the sector? Not sure if this really helps the short situation. But we've seen this with, I mean, look at Marathon here recently, right? They did a convertible bonds, and what did the stock do? The stock took off. We saw it with, who else did that here recently that the stock took off? Hut 8, and somebody else, I think, did the same thing. BitDeer to a certain extent as well. So, yeah. So maybe, better question would be, would it be an impediment for the stocks to go higher than we think they might, right? Could they keep them down or something like that? Keep them at a nice, healthy level, but maybe keep them down. I don't know. Let's see. Can you start covering Fufu, please? They are a big miner at 26 exahash and growing. Thanks either way. I love your work. Oh, thank you so much. Let me ask you this. Does Fufu report monthly? If they do, and there's good information on them and things like that, then I can possibly put them in there because, yeah, being 26 exahash. Also, how much of that is their self-mining and how much of that is for hosting? Okay. Several people in Mining Mafia think Digital can run a lot more than others. Why do they think this, in your opinion? I think the reason for that is the HPCI potential there. But we're seeing now that, don't get me wrong, Digital is a great business. They've done a great job growing that HPCI business as well. It's smaller increments that we're seeing here from the customers that they're getting, but still increments in revenue and stuff like that. So that's always a good sign. They're also going to be swapping out the older machines that they have for Bitcoin mining, getting newer machines, getting to like 3 exahash. That's a good sign there, but they're still on the smaller side of exahash when it comes to Bitcoin mining. So they're still concentrating more on the HPC business, which is fine. So if they get a huge customer there, that's going to generate them, $700 million a year or something like that, or whatever it might be, or even $500 million a year, whatever it might be. I think at that point the stock's going to take off, right? They have the potential there with one of the customers now, which is only like a couple $1 million a year, but they said that they have potential there to get like to 700 million. Okay, well that's fantastic. So that's possibly why they think that might happen there. All right. Let's see. Karen says sold 1/3 of Bitfarms on Friday, but today IREN 50% Riot 25 Cleanspark and 2 minutes before the market closing. Great price to get in. Nicely done. I sold 1/3 of my Bitfarms position as well. When did I do that? I sold that last Monday. And I got into Cleanspark and IREN at that point as well. Let's see. Will you sell Bitfarms soon? I sold a portion of it last week. I'm going to hold on to the rest that I have, see how they do going forward. Let's see. Question: Can you please tell Ben to use convertible notes? Sure, Ben, use convertible notes. Okay. which miners are you buying off market? Question. Off market. How do you buy them off market? I'm not buying any miners off market. It's all on market. It's are you talking about like options and things like that? But no, all the things I buy is directly on the markets. Let's see. Convertible notes are bullish. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, from what I've heard from people that I've spoken with, yeah, they're all saying that it's a good thing for the miners. So I'm willing to take their words. They're smarter in that department than I am. All right. If holding BTC long term is smart, then why not hold the miners long as well and accumulate? The concern with the miners is dilution, right? That's always been the concern there. So you really want to get into them when they're really beaten down as much as they are, and then you can trade them or you can hold on to them for maybe a year to 2 years at most, and then sell them as they appreciate in value before they start going back down if we have another cycle. But that's the thing. Do we have another cycle? What if we have a cycle where it's an extended cycle now with all the adoption talks and everything else? We don't know. All right, what else do we have here? When do you expect to see positive movement in Cleanspark? I would expect it to happen within the next couple of weeks, a month or two at the most, I would think. But we'll see. Let's see, BTC tops 130,000. What's your target? My target for Bitcoin was 180,000 originally. Now I'm thinking it's going to be closer to probably like 250,000. The reason for that is because of all of this adoption we're having. Nation states talking about putting Bitcoin in as a strategic reserve. You got countries going possibly that are adversaries, Russia and the United States, right? Structural adversaries. They're both looking to put it on there, right? Now it's going to be like an arms race with Bitcoin to see who can put more Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So for that reason, I'm a lot more bullish than where I was just 6 months ago, basically. Let's see here. High sub, any miners that you would buy right now? If I was looking to get into any miners, I'm liking the improvements that I'm seeing with Riot and Marathon as far as operations are concerned. I'm liking those improvements there. I would possibly look into those. All right. Let's see. Hi, Seb. Can you think of a cabinet post that Trump hasn't filled yet with a crypto bull? I don't know how many other posts he can have in there, but yeah, he's definitely putting in some good people there. All right. All right. Okay. Just how positive would it be for if Trump administration lowers energy by 30%, especially early 2025, while we are in the prime run? Energy. The only, I don't know how that would impact it. I don't know if you can just lower it 30%. You would need more production out there. It's a lot of it is driven by supply and demand. And then some of these, like nuclear power plants, they're governed by state authorities, which either, I'm sure they're not going to complain if they lower energy prices, but they're controlled as far as what their rates can be charged to the consumers there. So there's a lot of nuances there. It's not just that easy. Okay. Question: we know your conservative price targets for Cleanspark, but what would be your bull target for Cleanspark this cycle? Bull, depending where Bitcoin goes again, right? If Bitcoin goes past 250,000 or something like that, then we could see it over $100 possibly. The profitability at that point for those guys and everybody else in the sector is just going to go bonkers. So I would expect massive FOMO in at that point. All right. How high can IREN, Cleanspark, Riot, Bitfarms, and MicroStrategy can go when BTC at 180? Yeah, I'm thinking like 3 to 5x, if not higher, at the very least. That's kind of what I would expect from these guys. Might sound dumb. What's the big guys' point of keeping the miners down? Wouldn't they profit more if they took position and just let them run already? In time, they will. I think they will. But they're hedging their bets with other things, like maybe on Bitcoin, on MicroStrategy in the past as well, and other things. Now they're also getting into, well, I don't know if the big guys are getting the convertible notes, but that could be part of it as well. Karen, thanks so much for this super sticker. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for the tip there. Let's see. Question: can Cleanspark take back the ATM and do convertible notes? They can't take it back if they've already used up portion of it, a majority of it. They can't take it back. So that's out of the question. All right. Question, what are your thoughts on Google creating a supercomputer? I heard it once. Well, you're talking about the quantum computer. They've been working on it. They're not the only ones. There's other ones working on it as well. With quantum computing, the concern there is with the SHA-256 encryption algorithm for Bitcoin. That could be broken because of it, but I think the Bitcoin core engineers, developers are already working on an algorithm that would be able to stop a quantum computer from breaking it. All right. Last question looks like, why buy miners in need to worry about financial strength, obligations, and limited outside when you could just buy crypto coins during the alt season and flourish in unlimited upside? Well, the upside is not always unlimited. Depending when you get into them and things like that, you could get rug pulled. I've gotten rug pulled before as well. I still own some coins from last cycle and even before the prior cycle of that I'm just looking to possibly break even on those this time around, which looks like I might, and I'm out of those things. You really need to, I mean, you don't have a lot of insight into those things. I mean, you're just going on pure speculation, pure hopium, pure pump, basically. Some of them do have pretty good ideas, but yeah, I would be careful with those. All right, but that's it. I think we're all caught up to your guys' questions here. I don't see anything else popping up here. We got one more here from Benjamin, looks like popping in. What do we got here? Let's see. Question, Rex said there's a short of 700 million on Cleanspark. Do you know about it? Yes, the short squeeze is going to be sweet. There is, based on the value here. Where's my short sheet that I have on these guys? Oh, let's see here. Did I go too far? I probably went too far on my sheets here. Hold on. TerraWolf, miners, market cap, stock performance, enterprise metrics, monthly, institutions, shorted. There it is. Okay. Let's go here. Screen. Okay. So shorted amount. Let's see here. Cleanspark is shorted right now about 786 million as of the reporting. This was done on 11/15, so middle of last month. I'm still waiting on the data to come in for the end of November here, but you can see it right here. 796 million looks like right now, based on number of shares shorted or shares floated, all that stuff. You can see that Cleanspark is the third highest being shorted here. So yeah, eventually I think that will. I mean, you kind of see it. Marathon's also in there, quite heavily shorted. Bitdeer, and we'll see what the change. We'll see what the changes on Bitdeer, because that's kind of interesting that they are so heavily shorted here as well. But the stock has had a nice run up here recently, so we will see what that's going to entail possibly. All right, let's go back to Q&A. See if we got a couple more maybe to cover, and then we'll be done. Okay. Question: why did Hawk 2 coin fail? I mean, I think the name in itself is a reason why, the meme coin. Yeah. I think it was also, who was it? Gosh, I can't remember his name right now. Great guy on YouTube. He does all these investigations into these like scams and things like that. What is his name? Oh my God. I'm drawing a blank on it right now. He always has this futuristic scene behind him. I'm drawing a blank right now. Age, getting old sucks. But you guys know, I think you may know who I mean. He's always gets like several million views. Let's see. What the history December returns for BTC during this point in the cycle? What are the historical returns on Bitcoin similar to this cycle? Depending which ones we want to look at here. Let's go back here. I'm thinking this is like a 2015, 2016 cycle where we had September being in the green here, right? And then, so we're going into a December here in 2016, which I think right now 2024 is like the 2016. We have a really good December. We were up, what is it, 30% roughly? And then check out next year. Next year we only have, if it's a repeat, so 2017 was a great year for Bitcoin. If we were a repeat of that, we only have like 3 months possibly being in the red, and the rest were in the green, with a lot of gains here in October, November last year. So we'll see which one we end up at. But right now, based on these two Septembers being the same, it's looking like a 2017 cycle for next year, potentially. Time will tell. All right. And there's that one. Okay. Please can you give me a rough conservative estimate for right at 100. My original targets were around 180,000. We're looking at 200,000, so they're going to be pretty close, right? I still think Cleanspark can get to like $60. IREN can get to like $60 to $70 around that range, I would think. But time will tell. All right. Let's see. Question. Charles Shrub just recommended funds should hold 10% Bitcoin. Do you think this will start the follow the leader game? Yeah, we're already seeing that a little bit. 10% is definitely a lot higher than a lot of us were wishing for. A lot of us were hoping for at least 1 to like 3%, right? But if they're going for 10%, then that's definitely a lot more bullish than what we were thinking. Let's see. How far will Mara and Riot share price go up next year before going downwards? I would imagine going at least 3 to 5x from where they are right now. All right. Can you issue convertible notes for share buybacks? Well, some of these miners are chemically undervalued, but I don't know how else to pump the stocks up. Well, we saw it with TerraWolf, right? When they did the convertible notes, they had it in there where they had to buy back some shares. I don't know if it was because of the note holders there are basically pushing to do that. I don't know if that was the case or if it was just the company doing that. And we also seen this with Hut 8 here recently. So, I mean, they do that. Let's see. Heinze says, question, just kidding, Seb. I can't believe you answered my question. Just wanted to say thanks for bringing in the daily knowledge. And by the way, alts are getting destroyed right now. Okay. Yeah, if there's a question, I'll try. Okay. Yeah, I'll try to answer those as much as I can. Let's see. Ullman says, Night, Sebastian, I admire your patience with everyone who expects to get rich tomorrow. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would like to get rich tomorrow as well, right? But that, we know it's not going to happen. It's going to take a little time. You got to be patient with it. And thank you. Yes, it is CoffeeZilla. Thank you. That's the person that I was talking about that does all the scam reporting and things like that. Great guy there. But yeah, CoffeeZilla, thank you. Let's see. Question. Reports of nation states and big businesses developing BTC mining capacity. How can we measure the percentage of public miners hold of observable total hash rate? Is this the correct question to ask? I mean, we can't see what the nation states have, right? Because it's not reported, we don't know. But what we can look at is, I'm going to be updating this chart as well. Where is it at? I got a lot of charts here. BTC hash rate comparison. So I do look at this monthly as well. We will take a look at it either this week or next week sometime when I get this updated. So we look at the total network hash rate, how much the miners have of it. And we also look at like the percentage that the miners own of that for a given month, right, on average. And we'll see what they increased and decreased and all that stuff into it. So we do look at that as well. So we can see a little bit what's happening there. If we're seeing like the network hash rate going like crazy and the miners are losing their hash rates or their market share there, it might be a sign that the nation states are getting into it possibly heavily, or a lot of private miners are doing really, really well, growing their hash rate. So there's a couple ways to look at it that way. All right. Let's see. Question, do you still have hope for IREN to go over 35? Yes, I do. Let's see. Are people in here capitulating? There were a couple comments that I've seen that, yeah. So we're seeing some people capitulate. IREN to $60 to $70. Okay. All right. Part 2. I'm interested in the competitiveness of Cleanspark and company. Competitiveness as far as how they're competitive in the space. I mean, just think about where they came from, right? January 2021, they had 100 petahash. They bought a facility and they basically pivoted over into Bitcoin mining. So that was January 2021. So now we're going into basically 4 years. In 4 years, they become the second largest Bitcoin miner here that's publicly traded, right after Marathon, right? And they're nipping at Marathon's heels as well, trying to be like probably the best, the top hash rate miner, the highest hash rate miner, but potentially there. So they're very competitive when it comes to that. All right. All right. Okay, I think I've come to all your guys' questions here. Yeah, let's call it a night. We're going on about an hour or so, and I still have to go take a shower and get some sleep. So we'll call it a day. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Hopefully it's going to be a better day, and hopefully, people don't capitulate too quickly, because that's one of the things that I don't want people to. One of the things I don't want to do is I don't want to hype things up too much, right? I'm kind of like trying to be as conservative as I can possibly be, but also be positive in a sense. And then there's other people out there that definitely hype a lot more than I do, and to way higher valuations than what I think things will go. But I try to be as conservative as I can be and give you guys at least some good guidance of what I've seen in past cycles, what I'm seeing right now. And we cover a lot of things that are going out there. We also have a lot more people in this community right now, right? We got Dr. Lewis, you got A Trades, you got Adrian, you got others as well, Penny Ether, Mike Alfred, you got Anthony and Bryce. I mean, there's just so many people I could probably go on and on that are helping everybody else see things that I'm also seeing, right? And a lot of times I actually agree with pretty much like all of those people there. Some people have different methods, whether they're trading or being in it for longer. But overall, the community has definitely grown from where we were back in 2021. Back then we had Blondity, and I think Anthony was just starting out at that point as well. So it's a much bigger community, and I think you have much different, I wouldn't say much more different, I think you have similar voices, but you also have different approaches as well. So I would say it's definitely a much better community, much bigger community. It's much better informed community, I think, as well, which is a good thing in the long run for all of us, I believe. Because I learned from Penny, I learned from Anthony, I learned from Dr. Lewis as well. I learned from all you guys as well. So I greatly appreciate the community that we have here. It's definitely fun. I'm always willing to help out and contribute in any way that I can. But I just want everybody to be realistic in time frames, right? Things are not going to always work out the way we think they're going to work out, or when we think they should work out. But in the long run, I think they will work out still. All right. So we'll cover whatever happens tomorrow. Hopefully Bitcoin is a little bit better. Hopefully the miners do a little bit better. If not, it'll be just another day in the life of Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners, right? We still have a little time, I believe. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night. Love you all for coming in, and I'll see you then.